Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us in this live session. I'm Alejandro Kikuchi, or Kiku, from Workana. I'm sitting at home now in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Nowadays, we are just going to the office a couple of times a week. So today I'm working from home. Absolutely no company is conducting business in the same way as before the pandemic. Sadly, many businesses went bust, but at the same time, we are seeing transformation without precedent. It's a testament to how people can adapt and overcome even the most challenging situations. Most of that transformation entails recalibrating, and how work is changing affects all sorts of work, right? Including engineering and design and marketing jobs, and also, of course, healthcare. So we'll get into that today. On one hand, Workana is working closely with many tech companies, helping them reliably hire and work with remote talent. Tech talent is far easier to find when you run a borderless organization instead of just hiring in the city where your HQ is. And on the other hand, we are hosting these sessions. It's part of our endeavors to support companies in this journey. In these sessions, industry leaders share their insights and plans on the best ways to tackle this new normal we are experiencing. So far, we've had great conversations with a rich variety of businesses, fast-moving consumer goods companies such as Reckitt Benckiser, tech startups like Fave and Curlek. We also spoke with Lalamove, for example, operating in the logistics and gig economy realms, Petronas, the huge oil and gas corporation, and now we have the opportunity to talk to Dr. Anyhwere, a company enabling access to healthcare through technology and innovation. So, today, our guest is Ivan, Director of Transformation and Innovation at Dr. Anyhwere. Let me add her to the stream. Hi there, good morning.
Morning, Kiku. Hi,
How are
everyone.
you?
I'm good today. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Thank you, thank you. And thank you so much for joining. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you some of your experiences.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So,
Thanks for having me here today.
all right, great. So first of all, we're all on the same page. Can you please share a little bit of your background and why you chose Doctor Anyhwere as a career?
Sure. My name is Ivan. I am the Director of Transformation and Innovation of Dr. Anywhere. I joined DA for about 8 months right now. At the early day of my career, I was a practicing nurse after graduating from a nursing college. And I worked at a clinical site at a hospital, practicing as a trauma nurse. Um, Prior to joining DA, I spent a decade in healthcare, consumer healthcare, and later on, I moved over to insurance. So I was with Great Eastern and Cigna Singapore, mainly doing product strategy and innovation stuff. And I had an opportunity to work on a pilot with Dr. Anywhere when I was with Cigna. We co-created a new services called Cigna Virtual Clinic back then. And in 2020, Cigna's Virtual Clinic was awarded as the best healthcare product and service by Singapore Business Review. It literally opened up my view on the various possibility and how far telemedicine can go, how much we can achieve through technology to offer uncompromised, high quality care while helping to alleviate the strain on the current healthcare industry. And I truly see telemedicine as a sustainable solution to the existing already fractured healthcare system right now, I would say. Hence, I decided to join DA, contributing my part with all my past experience, to shape and reimagine the future of healthcare together with a group of like-minded people here.
I love
Yep.
that story. It's a great example of how appealing and how mind blowing rather being exposed to something new can be, right? To the point that you decided, wow, I want to dive into this far more than just from the other side helping build something new, right?
Exactly, exactly. So it was my opportunity. It is really a very eye-opening for me when I do the pilot trial, and I want to be part of the. I want to be the pioneer, and be the pioneer group joining DA together in this journey. That's why I decided to join Dr. Anywhere.
Excellent, excellent. All right, thank you for sharing. And can you also, of course, I am familiar, but can you also mention what is it that Doctor Anywhere? What is it that you guys do?
Sure, absolutely. So, Dr. Anywhere, DA, is founded by Mr. Lim Waiman. He is born and raised in Singapore. He came with a wealth of experience in private equity and investment banking. So, DA was launched in 2017 with a mission to bridge efficiency gap in the healthcare ecosystem. Because when Wyman joined CSR activity in his with his previous company, he noted how underprivileged family have lesser access to healthcare when it's needed very much. Hence, he used his own money and trying to do a simple app and gather a few like-minded doctors who can actually remotely provide consultation to these underprivileged families. So this is how it all gets started, and think just one after another, and it become the Doctor Anywhere today. So primarily, DA provide a 24/7 teleconsult with a local GP. Our user can see doctors within minutes, receive a consultation, diagnosis, as well as prescription. And DA will then deliver the medication right to the doorsteps within 3 hours. So that is our first vertical. Our second verticals, we venture into having our own physical clinics. So currently, we run 8 physical clinics in Singapore island wide. This is to complement those cases that are deemed non-suitable to go through a virtual consult, and it is also a trust building mechanism because people are not familiar with Doctor Anywhere at the beginning. If they see our logo in a physical clinic, they know that we are real. We are not just someone behind the screen. So that is very important for us when to build trust and the brand at the beginning of our journey. The third vertical is actually a marketplace. We started it in end 2018. It is a e-commerce platform where we can engage user when they are not sick, and it's aimed to provide a avenue to actually for health and wellness maintenance. We list all different kind of product and services where user can actually purchase and then get supplements and all that on their daily. And last but not least, our fourth vertical is actually mobile services. So, it's in line with Singapore MOH 5 years plan to deinstitutionalize patient, to promote patients to recover at the community or to recover at home. So we built a team of mobile service, consists of doctor, nurses, as well as phlebotomists, where they can actually perform home-based services such as answering semi-urgent house call, perform vaccination, or even health screening at the comfort of patient's home. So this is all DA do currently.
That's amazing. You cover. I like it. It's different angles and approaches to sorting out very real and concerning issues, right? That's great. And of course, you mentioned the physical clinics. You've you started working on, and then you mentioned trust. And of course, when it's about healthcare, trust is the biggest thing, right? I mean, trust is already big if we are talking about ordering food from a restaurant, let alone when it's healthcare, and particularly many people uh, that are not used to working with telemedicine, right, or dealing with just healthcare professionals behind the screen, as you were saying. So I think it's great for you guys to consider these trust aspects and try to tackle that from different angles as well. That's amazing. So, what are some of your most recent achievements or milestones?
Well, I think DA is currently a market leader position in the health tech industry in this region. In a short span of about 3 years, we make our presence in 5 countries, Singapore being the HQ. We also are operating in Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Philippines. We started telehealth medicine in those countries as well, and then we go into having physical clinic. And in some country, we also have our own pharmacies because it is to customize to the local needs and how the local people seek healthcare. There are different behavior in the respective countries when it come to seeking healthcare and consumer behavior. And well, we closed a Series B funding in March 2020. We raised about 27 US million. It was led by SquarePeg and also institutional investors such as Singapore Government Investment Arm EDBI, IHH Healthcare Group, as well as a subsidiary of Temasek Pavilion Energy. So yeah, this was some of the achievement and milestones that we made, in the most recent year.
Congratulations, that's amazing. And that kind of backing, not only from private capital, but also the Singaporean government, for example, is it's proof of the kind of trust from a different perspective, but it's still trust that you have been managing to build.
Yes, exactly. I think having Singapore government as one of our investor actually give our consumer a lot of confidence that, and moreover this is a Singapore company. So I guess this is a true testament to our own achievement as well as the nation's achievement.
Right, and you mentioned that that round of investment was in March 2020.
Yes, correct.
All right.
The Series B was closed in March 2020.
Right. So that's quite an interesting date, considering is when the pandemic started hitting uh, the world more, more generally. So how did your business model change or adapt because of the pandemic?
Well, I think COVID has impacted every single individual and every business is significantly, and it is quite clear that we are not experiencing a very typical business or financial cycle anymore. And we are expecting turbulence in the global market where a lot of performance or the outcome can only be guessed or and it's not forecasted anymore, right? And so likewise, COVID actually impacted DA as well. We see a surge firstly, we see a surge in our telemedicine services as people are afraid to visit clinics, or some of the clinics were even closed during the pandemic, right? And we were able to scale up very quickly by channeling all our resources to support the online services, as well as we ramp up our pharmacy services and delivery logistics services to cope with the high demand. And it was very lucky that our infrastructure were all ready to respond to that demand. And in the early days of COVID, right, we likewise our physical clinic were impacted. But we were very quickly able to adapt and pivoted and rechannel our resources to support the nation's fight against COVID, right? So we deploy our nurses, we deploy our mobile team, to support various projects that is called by the nation, such as the swab testing, and providing uh, tele services to the dormitory foreign workers. And yeah, so we help MOH and MOM in doing all these various projects by channeling all our resources, answering the nation's call, fighting, this battle together. So I absolutely respect our frontliner during that period that is donning all the PPE and doing all the swab tests, sweating and all that. I totally respect them. And yeah, so for with all these, right now we actually built a new capability that we are able to perform COVID PCR swab testing, and now it is actually one of the services available in our own clinic for those traveler who to do pre-departure swab before they actually need to travel on board to the plane. We actually seen 5 time growth in our revenue in all, and COVID, like it or not, it actually helped to accelerate the acceptance of virtual care model.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah. As you were saying, some clinics were outright closed, and those who remained open, people were reluctant to go, right? Even if minor ailments or, of course, non-COVID related things, you would hesitate to go see a doctor because, what if I just go because I have a headache and I get infected with COVID there? In that regard, telemedicine, what you guys do is amazing how well it fits these kinds of new requirements and concerns people have. And I'm glad for you guys. You saw that kind of growth in revenue. It's also great that you managed to adapt not only as you were saying, the infrastructure was there, right? So that speaks well about how you were preparing for scale, but also making the most of other trends like e-commerce, right? The surge in e-commerce also makes sense. What you guys do, and it's related, I guess, to the vertical you were mentioning with marketplace and people who might not be sick yet. And I saw on your website the swab tests. The results can be quite quick, right? It's really convenient.
Yes, you're right. So all travelers are required to do a PCR swab test at a certain time frame, like 48 hours before they board the flight. So users can go to one of our clinic, book an appointment, and then they will get the result right before they actually on board to the plane.
Right. Okay. Great. Great. That's great. So so you are mentioning that you were that you had just raised money when the pandemic hit, that you adapted in many ways to these new normals, that you were supporting the population and the governments in the fight against the pandemic. What would you say, diving a little bit into how you guys operate and how you guys work? For example, do you have a certain or particular approach to working from home?
Well, currently, I think we are still operating in a hybrid model, right? So, due to the lockdown, we were forced to work entirely remotely during that 6 weeks. Very quickly, we adapted the model for our office staff. We were 100% on remote during that 6 weeks of lockdown period, and thereafter, with the phase one, phase two, and now phase three, the government actually loosen up the restrictions, and now we get more people coming back to the office. But again, I think the flexibility is there. there's no particular rules that whether you need to come back to office or whether you are working from home. It's entirely up to the employee to plan their work schedule. But however, we do keep a register for employees who need to come back to the office because again, this is one of the requirement by the government as well, and we have to follow all the safety measure management and safe distancing, wear masks all the time, except now I am alone in my room now, and we need to scan the safe entry when we are arriving at work, and then employees are constantly reminded not to come to the office if they're not well and to seek medical attention early. And we are practicing hot desking right now, so we ensure the desks are all clean thoroughly and all that. So well, yeah. So I think working remotely is not really an issue for us because even prior to COVID, we are working remotely with our various regional team. Hence, the infrastructure is all there. So I think likely we will just continue this hybrid model even after the COVID.
All right. Okay. That's. I'll always love to hear those kinds of stories. That how you were already kind of used to a part of working remotely since you have teams throughout the region, of course. But then because of COVID, all of these adaptations happen. But moving forward, planning to keeping some of those new methodologies. I think that's great because it means that some of the changes forced upon us actually made sense in the long run. Would still make sense. What do you say when looking at your own teams or other teams you're interacting with or know about? What would you say are some of the bad effects of the pandemic and working from home?
Oh, well, I think we are now entering a new norm where working from home arrangement is going to stay. And I guess it is also normal that employee expect that kind of flexibility for working remotely. But we also recognize that, right, having less face-to-face interaction is now lesser, right? And hence the bonding amongst the co-worker are also reduced. So we encourage our leaders to organize like small team activity within what is permitted by the government guideline, whether on-site or virtual, to create opportunity for people to interact, right, and to know each other better. And not forgetting that we hire a lot during the COVID period, right? And then some of the people may not even see each other before, and they were purely interacting over Zoom or over Google Meet and all that. So I think having a face-to-face interaction in a smaller scale is still very important, so that co-worker can commingle and then can build the synergy better. And because we are at a startup company, very fast paced, this working from home actually has this always on mentality, right? And then we may, and it may lead to actually working extra hours right now. So we also constantly remind our employee to take rest, take time off, and have time away from home, and if they need help and all that, they can always speak to the supervisor and all that. And it's just very timely that because we also see the trend of increased mental uh, illnesses affecting not just our own employee but as entire workforce, right? That's why we also introduce this online teleconsult with a psychologist. So we make sure that people we lower the barrier for people to seek help or speak to someone professional when they need to. And same thing, we offer this service to our own employee as well.
That's sensitive and it makes sense, because even if the actual employee is fine, maybe the spouse isn't, or maybe they're fine-ish, but with the kids also more stuck at home. I mean, there can be so many situations, right, that can negatively affect a single individual. And then, as you were saying, the bonding side of things, it's quite a challenge. We are seeing, of course, the same thing, and we try to come up with playing some online games, ordering food from home, but then sharing dinner in a sense together every once in a while, so as to try and still have that, because otherwise you're just always talking about work, right? You jump on a meeting, you talk about work, and then that's it. You don't have more of that casual uh, moments to get to know the other person. So you were saying that you've been hiring, that your teams grew throughout the pandemic, and of course, so on one hand, that brings about the challenge of the newcomers maybe having never met in person some of the other team members. How have you been dealing with, how was the process different for hiring people and for onboarding new people to the teams, now with the pandemic and having to abide by government rules in Singapore and your teams in the rest of the countries, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and Philippines?
Right. I like what you have pointed out correctly. Everything is virtual, and even all the interviews are conducted virtually. So this is one very significant change impacting the hiring process. But we like what I have mentioned, like, we have never stopped hiring even in the midst of COVID because we were scaling up so fast. So I think our HR team actually pivoted and adapted the change very quickly. To be very honest, we have less opportunity to hire overseas talent because of the border restrictions and all that. So the hiring is very much focused on local talent. Likewise, for our overseas entity, they are also focusing on hire locally. And however, all the work remain the same, right? So we need to go through the interview, we need to offer contracts, we need to sign, but all these are now done electronically. We use electronic signatures for the offer letter and all that kind of thing. We also now prepare the office equipment, like the laptop and all that being set up properly, and then we deliver to the new hires home. So this is also another change that we have to do. Like not like the
That's
other
new.
time over day that they can come to the office and then your IT come and set up your laptop for you, right? No, so now we have to deliver the equipment to the home. And I guess we are also doing onboarding virtually. So the supervisor or the leader actually meet the employee day one virtually. We teach them how to use the communication tools, where are our documents stored in the cloud drive and all that. And we set goals and expectation more frequently, having one-on-one to make sure that we get the new hire up to speed. And we also introduced a new HR tool, right? Like for example, a Bamboo HR that we are using right now, that it actually have all the hiring, all the role that is listed out there, and people can, the candidate can just apply through the system directly, and it makes all the reviewing of the resume and scheduling of interview much more convenient right now.
That's great. That's great. And it makes sense. Relying on those cloud tools, can be so cost effective. They are not expensive, and all of a sudden you have a centralized place to organize the whole process.
Exactly.
Would you yeah, would you mentioned something that's, I think it's crucial when onboarding new people, which is the expectations, right? We see people all the time joining new teams in other companies, and it's simply what's expected of them, it's simply not clear. I've seen this a million times. It is expected perhaps in terms of KPIs, like the end of the road, but not from a cultural point of view or from a tool adoption point of view, right? Basically ensuring that the person can function within the team. Now, you mentioned setting expectations, one-on-one meetings, and before we started this session, we briefly commented on using OKRs, right? So how are these, how would you say, are these tools help you guys with hiring and onboarding um, new employees?
Yeah, so in DA, we actually adopt the OKR methodology. So we have many sessions going through is the objective and what are the key results. Every leader has a set of OKR, and then we log that in our HR system, and it is actually cascaded down, and the junior staff actually can see what are the leaders OKR, and it's very transparent. And then and then we review the OKR every quarterly to see the progress. And all our OKR are stretch goals, like we are set at about 120 to 130% stretch goal, so that we are not settling for what we can do, but we want to become like from good to great.
Right.
So we have, and then our junior staff or our exec has their own OKR as well. And through the one-on-one sessions, the leader will give direction, guide them, and then encourage. And again, we will review the OKR on a quarterly basis, and that is currently how it works in DA right now.
That's great. We do a similar thing. Would you say one setting OKRs, reviewing, and through one-on-one sessions, would you say that's crucial for working remotely?
Yes, definitely. I guess OKR actually set a very clear direction on what we want to achieve this year. It brings the team together, have the same mission and vision on what we want to achieve this year, and it's very clearly stated what is the measurables. And therefore, even working remotely, the OKR become the North Star and where
Right.
everybody can follow.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think this is absolutely important in the midst of COVID situation, and when people are still, getting used to working from home and interacting less.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I agree. I agree. So, all right. So exciting. And so you have funding. Well, you've had funding, that round of funding for a year now. But what are your plans in terms of growth, locally, regionally?
Um, we just announced in the recent news that we are building our second tech hub in Vietnam. So when we first started, our tech hub is in India. And then with this fast pace growing and all, we decided to build our second tech hub, which is in Vietnam right now. So there's a lot of hiring going on in Vietnam. um, I've mentioned that we are operating in other 5 countries now. So each country has their local team to run the operations. We are also expanding our local team in Thailand, Malaysia, and Philippines, as we are focusing in deep rooting in this country. So we are hiring a lot of operation staff, BD, and yeah. I think we are expanding very rapidly in all these countries where we are present. And I think for the next 1 year, we are looking at another 20 to 30% headcount growth in all these countries.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot. So you've been growing your teams throughout the past year, and you plan on keeping on doing so with a new tech hub in Vietnam, and then the local teams in each of the countries you operate. What would be what kind of advice can you provide for other people hiring? Because all of that is managed from HQ in Singapore, right? So, with the experience you've already had doing this and will keep on having, what kind of advice can you provide for other business leaders out there also needing to grow their teams?
I think we can't emphasize enough on hiring the right people. I think I hear this every day from our founder, from our HR and all that, and which we all agree, hiring the right people is the best way in your entire hiring policy, right? I mean, you only want to get the 9 and the 10, the A players, and you do not want to spend time on those the 6, the 5, and then when you spend so much time of onboarding training, and then you need to spend a lot more time in managing them, they're managing their performance and all that, right? So I think hiring the right people with the right mindset and attitude at the very beginning will then, make the entire journey so much easier. And having the right people on board with the like mindset and all that actually help to grow the team as well. Yeah. So I think this is
I,
something that the perfect advice that I will get this year.
yeah, and I agree. And sometimes, more often than not, hiring the right people means taking longer to fill some positions, right? Um, but it's the kind, but hasting through the process will have its costs down the road. I believe, at least.
Exactly. So we constantly going through the various applications, resume until we find the right fit before we actually make the offer. And we will actually advise that, even if it take longer, but it's worthwhile.
Right. Yeah. I agree. All right. Okay, excellent views and very interesting. What you guys are doing and the plans you have and the successes and milestones you've been reaching.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining me. Any last thoughts or message you'd like to give?
Well, I think DA right now we are not just a company that is trying to make revenue and all that. While yes, we are a business, but I think we see the passions in everyone in our team, and we the mission here is actually really not all about revenue, but is to grow a team of a smart creative people that we bring them together, and then hopefully we can change the world.
I love that, and I agree. Assembling a great team of smart, creative people, it's the stepping stone. With that, then you can achieve revenue and change the world, and keep on adapting to other challenges the world throws at us. Right? The pandemic is the latest, but other challenges will still be there. So, okay, excellent. Ivan, thank you so much for your time and sharing. It was very, very interesting. I hope everybody watching found it. I know they find it interesting as well. Let's keep in touch. I'll keep a close eye on what you guys are doing. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kiku. Thank you for having me today, and hopefully you guys enjoy, our conversation today. And yep, have a good day ahead, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.